In a remote village nestled at the edge of an ancient forest, a chilling legend was passed down through generations. The villagers spoke of a monstrous entity that roamed the woods, a being of twisted branches and glowing eyes known as the Whispering Shadow. Few dared to venture into the forest, and those who did never returned. The legend warned that once you entered the forest, the Whispering Shadow would find you, drawn by your fear, and claim your soul. Despite the ominous warnings, curiosity got the better of three friends: Emma, Lucas, and Sarah. They were urban explorers, always seeking out new thrills and adventures. The legend of the Whispering Shadow intrigued them, and they decided to investigate, believing it to be nothing more than a tall tale meant to scare the superstitious villagers. The sun was setting as Emma, Lucas, and Sarah entered the forest. The trees loomed overhead, their gnarled branches casting eerie shadows on the forest floor. A thick fog began to roll in, and the air grew cold. The friends joked and laughed, trying to mask their growing unease. But as they ventured deeper, the laughter faded, replaced by an oppressive silence that seemed to swallow their every word. As night fell, they reached a clearing where the moonlight barely pierced the canopy. The fog thickened, and an unnatural stillness settled over the forest. It was then that they heard it, a whispering sound, like the rustling of leaves, but with an unmistakably sinister undertone. The friends exchanged nervous glances, trying to locate the source of the sound. Suddenly, a chilling breeze swept through the clearing, carrying with it a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Leave this place, or suffer the same fate as those before you." The voice was deep and guttural, echoing through the trees. Fear gripped their hearts as they realized the legend might be true. Before they could react, a figure emerged from the shadows. Towering above them, the Whispering Shadow stood, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. Its body was a twisted mass of roots and branches, and its presence exuded an aura of dread. Emma, Lucas, and Sarah froze in terror as the creature advanced towards them, its movements eerily fluid despite its monstrous form. In a panic, the friends ran deeper into the forest, the Whispering Shadow in relentless pursuit. The forest seemed to close in around them, the trees twisting and contorting as if alive. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, filling their minds with horrifying visions. Emma saw images of her friends being torn apart, while Lucas felt an overwhelming sense of despair, as if the forest itself was feeding on their fear. Sarah stumbled and fell, and as Emma and Lucas turned to help her, they saw the Whispering Shadow looming over her. With a guttural roar, the creature reached out with its gnarled limbs, and Sarah's screams echoed through the forest as she was dragged into the shadows. Emma and Lucas could only watch in helpless horror as their friend was taken. Desperate and terrified, Emma and Lucas continued to run, but the forest seemed to twist and turn, disorienting them at every step. They stumbled upon an ancient stone circle, the air thick with a palpable sense of dread. Realizing they were cornered, they turned to face the Whispering Shadow, which had been stalking them all along. "We have to fight," Emma whispered, her voice trembling. Lucas nodded, gripping a fallen branch as a makeshift weapon. The Whispering Shadow emerged from the darkness, its eyes glowing with a predatory hunger. As the creature approached, the whispers intensified, drowning out their thoughts and filling them with a paralyzing fear. In a final act of defiance, Emma and Lucas attacked the creature, but their efforts were futile. The Whispering Shadow seemed to absorb their blows, its form shifting and contorting around them. With a bone-chilling laugh, the creature enveloped them in its twisted limbs, and the forest echoed with their final, anguished screams. The next morning, the villagers found the stone circle, now eerily silent. There was no sign of Emma, Lucas, or Sarah, only the faint whisper of the wind through the trees, as if the forest itself was mocking their futile bravery. The legend of the Whispering Shadow lived on, a grim reminder of the price of curiosity and the darkness that lurked within the heart of the ancient forest. And so, the forest remained, its shadows whispering secrets of those who dared to enter and never returned, a place where fear fed the darkness and the Whispering Shadow waited for its next victims. In the weeks following the disappearance of Emma, Lucas, and Sarah, the village was gripped by a palpable fear. The forest, once a source of wood and wild game, became a forbidden place. Children were told terrifying bedtime stories to keep them away, and even the bravest hunters refused to venture near its edge. Among the villagers was an old man named Elias, who had lived through more years than anyone could count. He alone knew the true history of the Whispering Shadow. Elias had seen the shadow once, many years ago, and had narrowly escaped with his life. The experience had left him with a deep knowledge of the creature and the forest's dark magic. Driven by guilt and a sense of duty, he decided to reveal what he knew to the villagers, hoping to prevent further tragedy. He gathered them in the village square one evening and began to tell his tale. The Whispering Shadow, Elias began, is not just a creature, but a manifestation of the forest's curse. Long ago, before any of us were born, a powerful sorcerer lived in these woods. He sought to control nature itself, bending it to his will. The forest, in its wisdom, fought back. In a final, desperate act, the sorcerer bound his soul to the trees, becoming the Whispering Shadow. His spirit now roams the forest, feeding on the fear and souls of those who enter. Elias' revelation struck fear into the hearts of the villagers, but it also ignited a spark of hope. If the Whispering Shadow was a curse, perhaps it could be lifted. Among the listeners was Clara, Emma's younger sister. She was determined to save her sister, or at least to bring closure to her family. With Elias' guidance, Clara began to formulate a plan. Clara gathered a group of volunteers, each with a specific skill that might help in their quest. There was Marcus, a blacksmith with a heart of steel, Lila, an herbalist with knowledge of ancient remedies, and Finn, a skilled archer and tracker. Together, they prepared for the perilous journey into the heart of the cursed forest. Elias shared with them an ancient map and a collection of old, cryptic writings that might help them break the curse. As dawn broke, Clara, Marcus, Lila, and Finn set off into the forest. The villagers watched with a mix of hope and dread, knowing that this might be their only chance to rid themselves of the Whispering Shadow. The forest was eerily silent as they ventured deeper, every rustle of leaves and snap of a twig putting them on edge. The journey was fraught with danger. They encountered twisted creatures born of the forest's dark magic, faced treacherous terrain, and endured the constant sense of being watched. The whispers grew louder as they pressed on, and the forest seemed to warp around them, leading them in circles and testing their resolve. After days of arduous travel, they finally reached the heart of the forest, where the ancient stone circle stood. In the center of the circle was a massive tree, its bark blackened and twisted, pulsating with a dark energy. This was the sorcerer's lair, the source of the curse. As they approached, the Whispering Shadow emerged, its form more terrifying than any of them had imagined. Elias' instructions echoed in Clara's mind. They had to perform a ritual to break the curse, a complex series of incantations and symbolic actions that required all of their combined efforts. Lila quickly set up an array of herbs and ancient stones, while Marcus prepared a protective circle with iron from his forge. Finn took up a defensive position, his arrows ready to fend off the shadow.